I first got to say that I'm not employed by a bank, nor am I being paid by one, and this is only part of a longer story. The times and dates might not be totally accurate, as I'm going on my memory of the times when I was involved in lending. Now, in my opinion, there should be no bank inquiry and no Royal Commission into banks in Australia. There are many questions the parliamentarian inquiry members are asking the banks in an open forum, but in my opinion, the banks should not be revealing operational policies which help banks protect their assets, that is, both depositors' funds and the loans that they've lent to people. They're an asset. They also need to be careful of not revealing information to politicians before telling their own shareholders, and there's some severe fines if they do that too. The Reserve Bank could play a part in educating both the public and the parliamentarians, who seem to be a bit deficient in why banks do what they do and why they are so important for our economic prosperity. I don't believe depositors would leave their money in any bank which only made a few $1 million per year, would they, without worrying they might make a loss very quickly. Banks are already under great pressure from other potential disruptors, and the technology already exists to close down cash handling banks altogether, but I doubt we would want that. In my opinion, the Economic Committee are not only asking questions for the banks to answer, but are also having a bad habit of passing misguided, uninformed judgments along the way for political reasons. I suggest maybe to make those aggrieved against banks to feel better, but it does not help solve their particular issue. So therefore, a Royal Commission would not solve their problem one bit or sooner. In my opinion, politicians calling for the Royal Commission are creating perceived problems which are really I don't think they exist as much as people might think. 97% of customers don't have problems with banks. Now, depositors might complain about interest rates being too low, but they feel safe enough to leave their money in the bank. And will only take it out if they get worried about politicians or Centrelink pension laws affecting them. Now, I know of no depositor of which there are millions who has lost any deposit money by having it in any of our banks. They've lost money through inflation, but that has usually been caused by politicians spending too much money in their budgets every year and debasing the value of money. So, that's politicians cause those problems. And also politicians have been changing the law about inactive accounts and requiring banks to transfer deposits to the Treasury after just 3 years instead of 7 years, as the ALP did during the Kevin Rudd era, and corporate taxation on all profits without any of the responsibility of operating a bank of 30% is a pretty good lurk, I reckon. Now, viewers should also remember a bit of banking history during the period about 1990, thereabouts. We had the ALP in the federal government, and Bob Hawke was the Prime Minister and Paul Keating was the Treasurer, and the late Joan Kerner, ALP, was the Premier of Victoria. Now, because of a whole range of economic factors, mainly caused by, I think, excessive federal and state governments overspending, it started to create a bit of inflation. So the Reserve Bank decided, well, we'll increase interest rates. And as they did that, the Pyramid Building Society was borrowing at 19% but lending at 17%. So you do the maths. How long can you last? Well, anyway, then we had the State Bank of Victoria got involved with Tricontinental. And I recall the ALP government were encouraging the State Bank and other government financial institutions to lend money to risky country businesses with the help of the Victorian Economic Development Corporation. This excessive spending behaviour by politicians caused a severe financial and property price collapse, and the Pyramid Building Society, the States Mortgage, OST Friendly Society went broke, and lots of people lost their savings. Tricontinental Corporation collapsed, with the State Bank having to be offered to the Commonwealth Bank, who carried and saved the depositors from losing their money. So instead of bagging the Commonwealth Bank, Victorians should remember to thank them for saving the bank and their parents from further and worse financial collapse. The Commonwealth Bank continues to be the best and safest bank as far as I can tell, but it's when politicians have become involved in trying to control banks that they've gone broke. As I said, the State Bank of Victoria went broke, and so did all the others from the State Bank of South Australia went broke, and that got taken over, I think, by Commonwealth Bank. So, in my opinion, the best way forward is to forget about the Royal Commission idea altogether and for an immediate creation of a specialist but cheaper cost banking tribunal to deal with the complex banking issues rather than going through the general court system. Of course, if fraud from either side becomes apparent, then the tribunal can refer the matter to a higher court to deal with these sort of matters. Now, Tribunal went broke and Pyramid went broke. It just got out of hand at the time. So, you know, we've got to think to keep the politicians out of controlling our banks. Otherwise, you know, it's a very complex business. And we all want our money in the bank to be safe. And the best way to be safe is let the banking executives and the banking people do their job and concentrate on lending money and protecting the money in the bank, and forget about the politicians trying to score points because they think that they're helping some of the people that have lost money. Of course, you might not know this, but some of the people that have lost money probably told lies when they made an application, and not all of them maybe, but some of them, and then the banks probably wouldn't know this. So unfortunately in the public forum yet they can't go saying so blogs who made an application, we found out later that he told a few lies. They've got to go to court and do these things. They can't do it in the public forum, and it could be very embarrassing for lots of people. So look, the tribunal is the best way to go, in my opinion. So, and I think that's probably the way they'll have to go. Thank you. Bye.